5:30, so we will get started. Welcome everybody to our Monday, January 8th organizational meeting. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful holidays and a great new year and safe travels. At least I think most of us had safe travels. No, only one is in a walking boot, so by the odds we did okay. Anyway, so thank you. If you have a copy of our agenda, NASCO, we're good, we're live, bud? Okay, thank you. If you have a copy of our agenda, you'll see item number 1 deals with our strategies. Item number 2 is the meeting where it can be viewed on YouTube. And number 3 is our call to order. So, Ms. Steves, will you please determine if we have a quorum present?
Yes, Mr. Wolf, we do.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'd ask you to stand for the pledge if you're able and remove any hats.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Bellingham, thank you for leading us in the pledge. You're welcome. Yasko, our mics are working good? Okay, thank you. So before we get into the approval of the agenda, item number 4, I just want to, this is kind of a unique organizational meeting, if you will. Typically, we just have an organizational meeting. Tonight, we'll also have a presentation, and then also we will move into a closed session to discuss an item and then come back into an open session. So just know that when we do move into a closed session, everybody needs to leave the room other than the school board members, the superintendent, anybody else that the superintendent would like in here. We will pause everything on YouTube. All the mics will be muted. NASCO, our IT person who's leading this, will actually leave the room. And once we conclude that closed session, then we'll bring him back into the room. He'll re-hit play on YouTube or whatever, and then we'll conclude the meeting on live on YouTube. So just so that everybody knows that's how that'll work. Any questions around that? Okay. With that said, I will entertain a motion, number 4. I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Robichaud, a second by Ms. Steves. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Mr.
Aye.
Chair, is there
yes.
discussion?
Sure.
Yeah, I've talked to Scott about it. I think he talked to Mr. Benty on number 14. That I suggested that we bring that up, get a RFP for attorney expense or attorney services, also engineering. Did you, Scott, you got my my voicemail on that?
Yes, so
Yeah.
I mentioned that to Mr. Benty about the legal, the RFP for services isn't pertinent to tonight's meeting, so that will come up. I think I left your voicemail back this afternoon, and that will come up at a finance committee meeting on the 16th.
So do we keep this on or do we remove this?
Well, so the way it would be for this is if there's an issue or you want to make a recommendation or anything, when we get to item number 14, that'd be the time to discuss it.
Oh, okay.
Yep,
Okay.
because it's on the agenda, so.
Oh, okay.
Yep, perfect. That makes sense?
Yeah.
And to Mr. Gertis's point, we don't have anything on here regarding any engineering firm or anything like that, so.
No.
You know, okay, thank you. Any other questions or discussion regarding the approval of the agenda as presented? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Thank you. This brings us to item number 5, election of officers for 2024. Before we get into it, as board members and Mr. Benty know, I had sent out an email late December, mid-December, whatever, before the holidays, just stating that I would not be entertaining any desire to remain in the chair going forward this year. I don't know that I would have had any support to or not, but just know that please, somebody new will be in this chair, and I'll switch as soon as we elect a chair, and then that chair will continue with running the rest of the meeting as we move on. And so with that said, and typically the way it works is we ask for nominations 3 times. So just know that that's the way it works, and I think we've always followed practice with that. So if there are multiple candidates for any position, we can simply go to a roll call vote for this person, and if there's three, this person, and this person, okay? So if that happens, you would then funnel them down, and we'd have to go through, if it went 3, 2, 2 for some position, we would eventually have to figure out a way to get to 4 for a position, okay? Make sense? Okay, so with that said, I will entertain, the floor is open for nominations for board chair for this calendar year of 2024. I will entertain nominations.
Mr. Chair,
I will nominate John Billingham.
Okay, just give me 1 second here, please. Okay, so Mr. Robichaud has nominated Mr. Bellingham. So that is one nomination.
Mr. Chair, I'd
Yes,
like
Mr.
to nominate Linda Boudreau, and I would like to read a couple sentences
Sure.
for qualifications that was provided to me.
Sure.
While serving 5 terms as Minnesota State Legislator, Linda was appointed Speaker Pro Tem and presided over floor sessions of the Minnesota House of Representatives for 4 years in the absence of the Speaker. In addition, Linda was also Chair of the Minnesota House Health and Human Services Policy Committee for 2 years.
Wonderful, thank you. So we've had one nomination, we've had a second nomination. Are there any other nominations? That's going to be my 3. Okay, fair enough. With that said, we'll do a roll call or a show of hands. We can do a show of hands, and then we'll, I guess, follow it up to make sure that the hands are accurate. For Mr. Bellingham, hands raised if you're in favor of Mr. Bellingham. So I am seeing Mr. Robichaud, Ms. Steves, Mr. Wolf, and Mr. Bellingham. Okay, so that's 4. Hands in favor of Ms. Boudreau, Mr. Olson, Ms. Moore, and Ms. Boudreau. So that is 3. So by election, by vote, Mr. Bellingham, you are the new chair for this year. Congratulations. We can switch seats, and you sit here. The camera is usually right here. So let's just switch seats real quick, and then you can take over from here. Okay, you got your own?
No.
Or you can have that paperwork.
Or did you print this off yourself?
I think Jamie gave that to me, so you can have that.
Okay.
I'll take this.
There's switch.
Yeah, microphones, yeah. Because there are too many.
Right.
And I'm just gonna, I'll grab that back.
Change your name placards too.
Yeah, we gotta change our name tags too, and I could be moving again here. Musical chairs.
All right, well, thank you, everyone. So continuing with our agenda, before we begin that, Mr. Wolf, I'd like to thank you for, I believe it was 4 years as chair or 5. They go back, and I will just say you have set the bar very high for chair, and I will work my due diligence here to continue that at that high level. So I want to thank you again for your work and your effort here. So at this time then, we will ask for nominations for office of vice chair.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to
Mr. Olson,
nominate Ms. Boudreau.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would nominate Cassie Steves.
Okay, are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? That would be my last call. I'm going to nominate Chad Wolf. Nominations are now, That's my third call here, so nominations will cease. So I will do have Ms. Steves, still as acting clerk, to do a roll call for this, please.
So first nomination is for Miss,
Just going to read off the board member's name, and they can state who they wish to vote for vice chair. Linda Boudreau, Chad Wolf, or Cassie Steves.
Linda Boudreau,
Votes Boudreau.
Linda Moore,
Boudreau.
Richard Olson,
Boudreau.
Jerry Robichaud,
Cassie Steves.
sorry. Cassie Steves, Chad Wolf. Now Chad Wolf.
Now it's my turn.
Now it's your turn.
Chad Wolf.
And Mr. Bellingham.
Chad Wolf.
So we have 1 for Steves, 3 for Wolf, 3 for Boudreau.
Okay, so we have no one receiving 4 votes, so we have plurality here. So we will just simply go back, and once again, I will ask for nominations for the second time for vice chair.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Olson,
Linda Boudreau, please.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, Chad Wolf.
Thank you, Dr. Robichaud. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? That's the third call. Ms. Steves, would you do a roll call for office of vice chair, please?
Linda Boudreau,
Boudreau.
Linda Moore,
Boudreau.
Richard Olson,
Linda Boudreau, please.
Jerry Robichaud,
Mr. Wolf.
Cassie Steves, Mr. Wolf, Chad Wolf,
Chad Wolf.
Mr. Bellingham.
And Chad Wolf.
Right. Ms. Boudreau has 3, Mr. Wolf 4.
Okay, congratulations, Mr. Wolf. You have been elected to the office of vice chair. Next, we'll move to the office of clerk. I will now ask for nominations for the for the position of clerk.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Moore,
Yes, I'd like to nominate Mr. Olson.
thank you.
Mr. Chair, I would nominate Cassie Steves.
Thank you. Are there any other nominations? Third and final call. Are there any other nominations? Okay, nominations are closed. Ms. Steves, will you do a roll call, please?
Linda Boudreau,
Olson.
Linda Moore,
Olson.
Richard Olson,
Olson.
Jerry Robichaud,
Steves.
Steves, Mr. Wolf,
Steves.
Mr. Bellingham.
Steves.
Mr. Olson has 3, Steves 4.
Thank you. Congratulations, Ms. Steves. You may retain your position of clerk. Lastly here, the position of treasurer. I will now accept nominations for treasurer.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Moore,
Mr. Olson.
thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Go ahead, Ms. Steves.
Ms. Boudreau.
Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? Last call, are there any other nominations? I think I said that 4 times. Okay, nominations are closed. Ms. Steves, if you would, please.
Ms. Boudreau?
Olson.
Ms. Moore?
Olson.
Mr. Olson?
Olson.
Mr. Robichaud?
Boudreau.
Steves, Boudreau? Mr. Wolf?
Boudreau.
And Mr. Bellingham.
Boudreau.
So we have 3 for Olson and 4 for Boudreau.
Thank you, Ms. Steves. Congratulations, Ms. Boudreau, position of treasurer. With that, board members, we'll move on to agenda item number 6. Just as you see in board book here, policy 209, for your information, sent out. I think it's a good time to provide you with and have you review policy 209 on the code of ethics for the school board members. It's a review. In case we have any discussion, I do not believe so, but with that, we'll move on to item number 7, school board schedule of meetings. As you can see on board book, is there a motion for approval of the schedule for the meetings of school board for 2024 and then the organizational meeting in 2025?
I'll move for approval, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Ms. Steves. Discussion.
Mr. Chair, some years in the past, we have not had a work session or regular meeting in July, and I do see it's asterisked at the very bottom, July meetings will be held if needed. So basically, this is a calendar holder, if you will, and if we get to the late June or middle of June or something, and between Superintendent Benty and yourself, you decide we don't need something, at that point, we just take it off the calendar?
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Any further discussion? None? Okay. See no further discussion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Mr. Chair, can we just ask that Ms. Kenny send out meeting invites to all of these so they hit our calendars?
Excellent point.
Wonderful,
Mr. Wolf.
thank you.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
Next, we'll move on to committee assignments. The 2024 committees was sent out to the board here on board book as well. Here we go. Committees. Here, the standing committees, the Community Education Advisory Council, the Finance Committee, the Policy Committee, Facilities. Mental health is being combined with the Wellness Committee, Equity Committee, District Advisory Committee, and then the other committees, which is a number of, as we'll get to as well. So, Mr. Wolf, as past chair, I do have a question. I see this is an action item. So do we determine committees and then have a motion for approval after, or should we have a motion for approval?
Well, there's really nothing to approve until we discuss and appoint.
Exactly.
So I would find out where everybody sits and just do then one final
Okay.
motion and approval
That's very good.
would be my recommendation.
Okay. So then, as I also read in our policy, that with committees, if more than 3 would want on a committee or whatever, the board chair does have say the final determination of who's on what particular committee. So we'll go from there. So let's start off with here first with the first one I have is the Community Education Advisory Council. Notice we had in 2023 we had 3 of them. Myself, Ms. Steves, and Ms. Moore. So I'm going to simply ask Ms. Steves, are you still interested? Would you still be willing to be a board representative on that committee?
Yes, I would. So
Okay.
this is one of the few committees that I serve on, both as a school board member and with my 9-to-5 job at the Chamber of Commerce.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Moore, are you still
Yes.
be interested in
Yes.
serving on that committee as well? Myself, I am not. As you'll see as we go through this, I think some of the committees we have are, to be very honest with you, in my opinion, too heavy board representative as compared to the number of people on these committees. So I'm going to recommend or state here that I think we should just have 2 representatives to this Community Education Advisory Council, and that would be Ms. Steves and Ms. Moore. And so to make that determination, is there anyone else that would like to be part of that now that I've made that statement? I'm sorry. Okay, hearing none, we'll move on. The Finance Committee is 3 people. We had, last year we had Mr. Wolf, myself, and Mr. Olson. I truly believe, in having served on the Finance Committee here now for a couple, 3 years, that I do believe the chair and vice chair should be part of that committee. And also, I would like I believe the treasurer should be part of the Finance Committee. So I am, is there anyone else that would be interested? So right now, we would have Mr. Wolf, myself, and Ms. Boudreau on the Finance Committee. Anyone have any objection or would strongly want to be on that particular committee?
Mr. Chair, I would like to remain on the Finance Committee.
Okay. I understand that, Mr. Olson. All right, I truly believe that the treasurer should be part of the Finance Committee to get involved in that as well. So my recommendation is going to be Mr. Wolf, myself, and Ms. Boudreau. Policy Committee. As you can see, we have, last year we had 3 of them, myself, Ms. Steves, and Ms. Moore. So once again, I'll simply ask Ms. Steves, are you interested in remaining on the Policy Committee?
I would be.
Thank you. Ms. Moore?
Yes.
Thank you. And keeping with in some committees here, that's a particularly small committee, 6 or 8 people. My belief is 3 board members on that committee is too many, so I'm going to remove myself from that committee. I originally, when I first got on the board, I was part of the Policy Committee, and my goal was to get rid of the 1970s, 80s, and 90s and get as many current as possible. So we have done that pretty well, and with a review cycle now that's been pointed out, et cetera. So Policy Committee will be Cassie, Ms. Steves, and Ms. Moore. The Facilities Committee, we have, in 2023, we had Mr. Robichaud, Mr. Olson, and Mr. Wolf. Again, I think whatever my recommendation would be for the Facilities Committee, based on strengths of board members, et cetera, I would recommend Mr. Olson and Mr. Wolf to be on the Facilities Committee. Mr. Robichaud, do you have any desire to remain on the Facilities Committee with that?
No, that's just fine.
Okay, thank you. So my recommendation will be Mr. Olson and Mr. Wolf. Okay, the Equity Committee, as the Mental Health Committee, is be combining with the Wellness Committee, which we have down the next page here. So the Equity Committee in 2023, we had Mr. Robichaud, Ms. Boudreau, and Ms. Moore. So, Mr. Robichaud, are you still interested in remaining on the Equity Committee?
Yes, I am, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Boudreau, are you?
I need to give one up.
But you don't know what's coming down the road either, so.
No, I don't. I'm willing to serve, I just think 7 committees is too many, so.
I will just preface by saying I've done a little homework and
Okay.
tried to do that, but I'll take that in consideration. How's that?
I'm willing to, I mean, I have a new committee, so I'm
Okay.
willing to give one up, but I don't know which one is the best one to
All right.
let go of.
Ms. Moore, would still like to be on the Equity Committee?
Yes.
So once again, I believe 2 board members on here would be sufficient. So at this time, I'm going to recommend Dr. Robichaux and Ms. Boudreau. And Ms. Boudreau, at the end, before we approve this, if you would, when you determine how many committees you're on, if you would like, we can adjust that. How's that?
Okay.
The District Advisory Committee,
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Olson.
on the equity, you said that only 2. Now, could Linda Moore still be on that committee?
I am having board representation of 2 board members on that committee of Mr. Robichaux and Linda Boudreau.
You can go up to 3, though.
That's correct.
So why isn't Ms. Moore on that committee?
I think when you see what other committees we may have selected her on, that would be a good thing.
How can you do that?
It says in our bylaws or in our policies that the chair can appoint 2 committees. Recommend to me. I think 3 board members on a particular committee, looks like the board has too much representation on a particular committee, especially with cabinet and staff being part of it, part of committees and things as well.
I strongly disagree.
Thank you. That's taken into consideration.
Well, how far will that get? How can you eliminate?
Well, just because we've had 3 in the past does not necessarily say we need 3 now or 3.
You're making a major change.
1 board member, 1 member. I'll move on. The District Advisory Committee, in 2023, we had 3 board members of Mr. Robichaux, Ms. Steves, and Ms. Boudreau. Mr. Robichaux still interested in serving on that committee?
I'm sorry, yes.
Thank you. Ms. Steves,
This would be one of the committees.
another one of the committees you work there. And Ms. Boudreau.
Take it or leave it. I can leave it.
Okay, so my recommendation is Mr. Robichaux, Ms. Steves, and Ms. Boudreau.
Okay.
So we'll go back to continuing down the list here of Insurance Committee. 2 members, 2023 appointments were Mr. Wolf and myself. And Mr. Wolf, would you like to continue that committee?
I'm good with that, thank you.
Thank you, and myself, I will as well. So myself and Mr. Wolf. Negotiations, once again, 1 to 2 meetings every other year when needed. There are 3 board members of Mr. Wolf, myself, and Ms. Boudreau. And I would like, Mr. Wolf, you're fine with negotiations? Ms. Boudreau?
Yeah, I'm good.
Negotiations, myself. Anyone else that would like to be on negotiations? None, we'll leave it those 3. The Wellness Committee, which is now going to combined with the Mental Health Committee is also going to be part of that. We had 2 representatives in 2023, that being Ms. Moore and Ms. Steves. So Ms. Moore, are you still interested in being part of the Wellness Committee?
Yes, I would.
Thank you.
I do have a question, though, because we're combining mental health and wellness. Does it require a resolution according to policy 213?
It may require board action with a policy change that may be coming down the road, yes. That's a great question.
Yeah, because of policy number 213, which is the school board committee. So I'm guessing we need a resolution then for combining those?
I'm not sure on that. I'm going to refer that to, I don't know, Mr. Benty, as part of the policy committee, your thoughts here?
So I would have to look at what our policy states on our committees.
We do have a policy committee.
The only committee that we are required to have by law or by legislation is the Curriculum Advisory Committee.
District advisory.
Yes, District Advisory Committee.
And Mr. Chair, the reason I say that is that a school board committee or subcommittee will be formed by school board resolution, which shall outline the duties and purpose of the committee or subcommittee. So that was my question. And do we need a resolution to combine them?
If it's in policy, we probably should. That's a very good point. So let's do this. Let's do the wellness, and then I will appoint, or I will go back up to mental health committee and have those members, we'll list those members, and once we get something from policy committee and we do the resolution to pass that, if they wish to combine that, then that's what we'll do. Okay? Does that sound okay?
So, Mr. Chair, essentially you'll put two members on both of those committees, so that just makes it easier, so you don't have to then worry about changing any members later,
Because
once the
then we would have
combination.
Yeah,
four
they're
then.
combined, right?
Yeah,
So-
you would
and I
just
have
have
both,
the same
actually.
two on each
Got it,
one?
yeah.
Is that what you're,
I wasn't
Into-
going to, but I
Oh.
will.
I don't know if you're going to have any mental health meetings prior to that taking place, so, but you do whatever, I just didn't know.
No, great point. I had a vision how I was going to do that, but whatever. So let's finish the wellness committee. So Ms. Moore and Ms. Steves, you're willing to continue the wellness piece, correct?
Yes.
Or if someone else is wanting to.
Mr. Chair, I would like to volunteer for the combination wellness and mental health.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Olson, because that's what I was going to do. And going back up to the mental health committee, seeing you were a member of that in 2023, you and Ms. Moore. So I think I will so I will name the mental health committee, which is going to combine, okay? So we'll do that, of Linda Moore and Richard Olson, okay? And then the wellness committee of, since now this is going to be a bigger group the way it looks, we have Linda Moore and Richard, you will also be part of the wellness committee, if that's
Yes,
the
that's correct, sir.
combination one there, okay? And then also, we'll go 3 on this one, Ms. Steves, be a part of that as well. Thank you. So until we get the resolution passed, mental health committee will be Linda Moore and Richard Olson. When that resolution goes through, it will be Linda Moore, Cassie Steves, and Richard Olson.
And
Okay.
just to clarify, are we doing the resolution tonight or?
No, it's not on the agenda.
Got it.
So that has to go through policy committee, recommendations there, restructuring there. That would be my vision without looking too closely at that policy.
So, Mr. Chair, just to clarify, you would like for me to add that to the policy committee meeting for the beginning of February?
Yes. Okay, moving on here. The Superintendent Evaluation Committee, we had 3 of them, 3 members last year of Mr. Wolf, Mr. Robichaud, and Ms. Boudreau. We'll have 3 remain there, and I would like to, I will put myself in there. Mr. Robichaud, would you be willing to serve on that? And Ms. Boudreau, would you be willing to serve on that? Both of you did all 3 of you did such a great job on that last time. So our membership for that committee for next year will be myself, Mr. Robichaud, and Ms. Boudreau. The next committee is the Falcon Enrichment Education Program, FEEP, which is an offset group of FAPSETA. There, it's a ex officio membership there, but meet, Ms. Boudreau, they meet like 7 a.m. or something on those mornings, don't they?
They do.
In person
In this
or
room.
virtual or, right, in person, yes.
I'd be very happy to leave that committee.
They're a really fun group, though, and they do great
I
things.
say that because the finance committee also is a 7:30.
Yes,
It would be a fair switch.
that's correct. So I'm looking for someone who would like to be part of the FEEP as a board rep for the FEEP committee.
I can't make that time frame work, sorry.
I would have a conflict because I'm chair of the FAPSETO.
That's correct.
I think I have a conflict because my wife is on that committee or
Oh,
something.
that's right, I was part of it at one time when I first came on the board. They just meet in April and June, 7 a.m. Want me to take it, Ms. Moore? Are you?
That's okay, you can take it.
Well, I don't want the people on that committee to feel bad, because it's a good group, but it's, yeah, all right.
Worthy cause.
So it is very good, so yes. Thank you. So I'm the representative for the FEEP committee. Moving down to the cooperative agreements, Alexander, excuse me, Alexander Park. Last year we had Ms. Boudreau. I'm recommending Mr. Olson, if you'd be part of the, I'm asking you if you would like to be the board representative on the Alexander Park.
Sure.
Meet once in the spring at City Hall, something like that.
Sure,
I
yeah.
believe you get an email from Paul Panonsky, I think, with that. Thank you, Mr. Olson, by the way. And Ms. Boudreau, are you okay with giving up that one there? Okay. Ice Arena, we had Ms. Moore. Would you like to continue, or?
Well, for sports, I'm not that well versed, so I would rather not if someone else would.
What I was thinking is, Mr. Olson, since it deals with ice arena issues, chillers, coolers, et cetera, would you consider that, please?
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
Since we're going to be spending, what, 200,000 our share?
Something like that, yeah. They meet 4 times per year at the ice arena. School district, are we 1 of 3? Things like that, so yes, okay. So thank you. The soccer committee, last year was Mr. Wolf. Mr. Wolf, are you willing to continue with the soccer committee there?
I will.
Okay, thank you. The Minnesota State High School League, I was the representative. I would like to continue again unless anyone else like part of that. Okay, then the Schools for Equity and Education, the C, that's the acronym there. It meets quarterly. Last year was Mr. Robichaud. Mr. Robichaud, are you interested? Would you still continue that? Anyone else like part of that? Just one board member? Thank you, Dr. Robichaud. That was, Dr. Berge was part of one of the mainstays.
The executive director.
Yeah, with that, yes, thank you. And lastly, on my list is the Cannon Valley Special Education Cooperative of, it means monthly on the 4th Tuesday, 4 to 5 p.m. Last year, Dr. Robichaud and Ms. Moore, you were the alternate. Dr. Robichaud, you continue that?
Yes.
Ms. Moore, alternate there, okay, thank you.
They have the shortest meetings I've ever attended, so why not?
Okay, good. So with that, thank you for your input and volunteering of committees, and those lists will be coming out to you, what you're on and when they meet, et cetera. So now, according to item 7, I'll have a motion for approval of the committee assignments
So
as
moved.
we went through.
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Boudreau. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Robichaud. Any discussion? 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 All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Motion passes 6-1. Next, we'll move to item number 9, school assignments.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Olson,
I'd like to keep with the high school.
okay? I'm trying to get my computer or my tablet. There we go, thank you. So I'll start off by preface this by saying, is there anyone really that wishes to switch or have different, be representative to a different building at this time? Mr. Olson expressed his desire to stay at the high school.
And Mr. Chair, I just as soon stay at ALC.
ALC.
Mr. Chairman, I would request to stay at the same
At Lincoln?
site.
And you are representing
Lincoln.
Lincoln, right?
Yes.
Ms. Steves, you're at,
I'm happy to stay, I'm happy to switch, so.
Mr. Wolf.
I'm good with staying.
Okay.
But if somebody really wants Jefferson, I'll switch, but
Jefferson switch, so way it understands to me, I'll remain at middle school if that's okay with everyone. So it looks like we stay the same for 2024 on school board representatives to these schools. Mr. Wolf, Jefferson, Ms. Boudreau, Lincoln, Ms. Steves, Roosevelt, myself at middle school, Mr. Olson, high school, Ms. Moore, ALC, and Dr. Robichaud at McKinley Early Childhood Center and AVE. So with that said, we would entertain a motion for approval of the school board representatives to those particular schools.
So moved?
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Second?
Thank you. Second by Ms. Boudreau. Discussion? 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 All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. Item number 10, school board salaries. Goodness.
I make a motion for approval
Okay.
as stated.
Okay, so we have the school board salaries are set at $275 per month for directors and $300 per month for board chairperson. We have a motion for approval from Mr. Olson to remain at that, and do we have a second?
Second?
Thank you, Ms. Moore. And discussion.
I do have one comment.
Dr.
As,
Rocha.
the board considers this. There still is payroll deduction for FAFSETA and FEEP, if anybody wishes to consider that. I think that Mr. Gertis would be very happy to facilitate that for anybody that wishes.
Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Ms. Boudreau.
Mr. Chair, I'm not sure if you would know the answer, but I'm wondering how this salary for board members compares to other schools around us in the Big Nine. Does anybody have any data on that?
I do not, to be very honest with you. I've never
Thank you.
looked or whatever. I don't know if some, like maybe in some smaller schools, districts, it's a community service volunteer position like that. I don't know, you get into the Big Nine, what our neighbors are, whatever.
Mr. Chair, it's all over the board, like Minneapolis, that's a job.
A good point, yes.
They actually, I think, have an office. I think that they moved their district to North Minneapolis, so they have an office, the board members, that's what they go to, but I don't know what they get paid.
Okay.
40, 50, 60,000 a year. So, but I don't think we're gonna have
Mr.
that.
Chair, we'll
Well,
have
they
to
don't
do
get
some
quite
research
that
on
much,
that.
Well, whatever.
Thank you.
We'll note
Sorry.
that we'll do some researches to do that, but again, like most of us, we ran for community service here and providing service to our district and whatever, and certainly don't do it for this money, but it's an important position here, I do say. Any further last discussion? Dr. Robichaud.
Mr. Chair, just for information, as I do every year, I will be voting against this, simply because of what you said. We're here, community service, not for the salary. And I think if we are to do that, we have a obligation to consider how those salaries will be distributed to help our students.
Thank you, Dr. Robichaud. Last call for discussion. Okay, we have a motion and a second for approval of school board salaries as was stated. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 6-1. Item number 11, consider approval of business office annual resolutions 24-13 through 24-19 for fiscal year 2024.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
It's going to be there, so we have a motion for approval by Mr. Olson, second by Ms. Boudreau. And so to be transparent here, the motion is for approval of designation of depositories, official publication, authorization, use of facsimile signatures, payment of claims between board meetings, petty cash resolution, investment resolution, and appointing responsible contract authority. So these do not need to be, Mr. Wolf, these do not need to be voted on individually like we have coming up there. Okay, thank you. Any discussion on these? Any discussion? Discussion. Ms. Steves, this is a roll call. Will you please do a roll call?
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Linda Moore,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf,
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Steves. Move on to item number 12. Consider approval of resolution 24-12 designating local education agency LEA representative.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Boudreau. You guys are faster than my computer here. Okay, and the resolution is designating Julie Hull as the Director of Teaching and Learning as the local education agency for Faribault Public Schools for the 2024-2025 school year. We have a motion and a second. Discussion. Discussion? Discussion. Ms. Steves, this is a roll call. Please do a roll call.
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Linda Moore,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf,
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you, Ms. Steves. Move on to item number 13. Consider approval of resolution 24-11 designating Jamie Benty as identified official authority for the Minnesota Department of Education secure websites. We have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Olson.
Second.
Ms. Steves, the second. Thank you. Discussion. Discussion. Let's call for discussion. Ms. Steves, this is a roll call.
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Linda Moore,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
Aye.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf,
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Passes 7-0.
Thank you. Okay, item number 14, consider naming the board's legal counsel and authorized contacts.
Mr. Chair, I'd like this tabled. Like I mentioned, beginning of the meeting, that refer this to the Finance Committee to get RFPs also for engineering services.
Thank you. So we have a motion to table item number 14. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Moore, for the second. I don't believe there's discussion on tabling a motion. No. So in keeping with, since this would be a, no, it's not, the chair's going to ask for a roll call vote on the motion to table legal counsel. So Ms. Steves, would you please do a roll call? On the it's on a motion to table item number 14, consider naming the board's legal counsel and authorize contacts.
Mr. Chair, I know we can't have discussion. However, I do have a question for Mr. Benty around this, where if we do not have designated legal counsel, and should we need legal counsel. What do we do next?
It's a good point, Mr. Wolf. I think, well, let's go through the process here of
Okay.
the votes, and if it comes to that, then we will ask those questions and determine that at that point.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Ms. Steves, please.
Linda Boudreau,
No.
Linda Moore,
Just clarification, this is for tabling, correct?
An aye vote, a yes vote would be for tabling.
Aye.
A no vote would be not to table, correct?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moore.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
No.
Cassie Steves, no. Chad Wolf,
No.
John Bellingham,
No.
passes 5-2.
Okay.
Fails.
The
5-2.
motion fails. 2-5. So now, once again, item number 14, consider naming the board's legal counsel and authorize contacts. We have a motion for approval.
So moved.
Thank you, Dr. Robichaud. And a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. And the motion would be to consider naming Ratwick, Rozak, and Maloney, PA, as the board's legal counsel for the 2024 and authorize the school chairperson, superintendent, and designee to contact the school district attorney for consultation and information. The appointment of the attorney shall not be construed as a prohibition against seeking legal counsel from other sources when the superintendent or designees deems it to be advisable. The discussion.
I'd like to amend this where that it would be any board member can have the right to call the school district attorney.
So, Mr. Olson, could you please state in a motion form of your amendment?
Make a motion that we add to the list that the entire school board or any members with reasonable, I don't know how you say it. Basically, that we would have the right to call the school district attorney.
So, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that's why I asked you to state it, okay?
Yeah, yeah.
So you're saying that you would authorize any member of the school board to contact the school, any member of the school board, superintendent, and designees to contact the school district attorney, is that what you're saying?
Within reason. I don't know if you can add that, within reason.
I'm not going to put words in any, I don't
Within
believe you.
reason.
Okay, within reason, okay? Is there a second to that?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second for amending the motion to approve the board's legal counsel.
Mr. Chair, can there be discussion on this?
Yes, I'm getting to that in just a minute, yes. Mhm. So do I have that correct? Do everyone understand what the amendment is? Okay, so discussion, Mr. Wolf.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, thank you. Mr. Olson and Ms. Moore, obviously one made the motion, the second, the other, Ms. Moore, seconded. Can you define within reason? What is that? Amongst 7 different people, what is within reason?
Basically, I look at that as we're all elected, we all got the same power, that if we have a question, we should have the right to call the attorney. Not every question, but again, I think we should have a right. You might not even use it, but I think it should be equal to the board that we can contact the attorney.
Okay.
Instead of going through who was ever chair.
Well, I
That
think,
may not be done.
yeah, I think you can go through the chair and/or the superintendent if need be. My questions within reason is pretty vast in my mind. That's just me. So I thank you. I appreciate your comments. I have to vote no against that. Within reason is, in my mind, longer and wider than Interstate 35, in my opinion. So I can't support that. language.
Mr. Chair,
Mr.
discussion.
Dr. Robichaud.
You know, once you contact an attorney, the clock starts running. And if we're looking at making significant budget cuts, and if we have 7 people calling our attorney, that attorney bill could run up to many, many dollars. And I just don't think it's prudent for all of us to be contacting the attorney. If we have an issue that we have to have addressed, I think it's only right that we go through the superintendent and/or the chair to get that responded. So I too will vote against that.
I would
Oh,
agree with
I'm sorry.
Mr. Wolf and Mr. Robichaud. In my tenure on the board, I've never felt uncomfortable, felt that one person has quote-unquote more or less power. So I'll be voting against this.
Further discussion? Last call for discussion. Okay, so we're going to vote, and we're voting on the amendment to the motion, and the amendment is consider naming Ratwick, Rozick, and Maloney, PA as the board's legal counsel for 2024 to authorize any school board member, and that's within reason,
Within reason.
superintendent and designees to contact the school district attorney for consultation and information. Okay? That's what you're voting on. So, an aye vote would be for approval of the amendment. A no vote would be for disapproval of the amendment. And once again, I'm going to ask Ms. Steves if you would do a roll call on this.
Linda Boudreau,
No.
Linda Moore,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Jerry Robichaud,
No,
Cassie Steves, no. Chad Wolf,
No.
John Bellingham.
No.
Fails 2-5.
Okay, so we're back to the original motion here of,
I'd like to make another amendment
go ahead, Mr. Olson.
that since we do, at this present time, have legal services, that we refer this, to get an RFP for legal services, refer to the Finance Committee, and whatever the process is.
So you're asked for an amendment for this motion here, but now you're asking for something different from a finance committee for RFP. I'm not seeing how that connects. Can you connect that for me, please?
Basically, I'm asking for an RFP for legal services. I think they added one for engineering services. That's all I'm doing. That's,
Okay, so the motion is for approval, naming the Ratwick, Rozick, and Maloney as the board's legal counsel, and now you're asking, you want to put and ask for an RFP, even though we're going to approve this here?
but I think that we should have a right to go out for RFPs, maybe interview, the board or a select committee. That's all. It just like RFPs of whatever we go out with.
I understand. I
Yeah.
think that RFP request, Mr. Olson, probably should go through the finance committee. Request Mr. Benty and Mr. Gertis and the finance committee do an RFP there. I do not see how this, doing an RFP now when we're approving, have a motion and a second to approve the board's legal counsel and authorize contacts.
So will this be referred to the finance committee or not?
I'm asking them to do it. I will make sure that it gets in the notes and gets referred to that, yes.
Okay,
So you do not have another amendment this time?
No.
You're good, okay, thank you.
withdraw.
Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, Ms. Steves, will you do a roll call, please? And once again, it's for approval of the original motion of consider naming Ratwick, Rozick, and Maloney, PA as the board's legal counsel for 2024 and authorize the school board chairperson, superintendent, and designees to contact the school district attorney for consultation and information. I apologize for repeating myself every time, but I want to make sure everyone knows what they're voting on. Okay, Ms. Steves?
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Linda Moore,
Aye.
Richard Olson.
No,
Jerry Robichaud,
aye.
Cassie Steves, aye. Chad Wolf,
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Passes 6-1.
Very good, thank you. Item number 15 is a report about kindergarten readiness, a presentation. We have Mr. Pruitt and Ms. Sage. Welcome.
So while we get this loaded, Mr. Chair, this is an update. Almost a year ago, the board in a retreat asked for us to come up with district goals. And we came up with 4 district goals that were discussed throughout last spring and then voted on, I believe it was in May, for this 23-24 school year. So this is an update on our Ready for K goal that the board set.
Thank you, Mr. Menti.
So as a reminder, our adopted goal for our Ready for K is to increase the percentage of Faribault Public School kindergarten students who are meeting grade level benchmarks. So we wanted to raise that from 36% last fall to the fall of 2024, increasing to 46%. And this aligns with our World's Best Workforce goal.
We measure that goal by looking at students who perform in the low risk on the seasonal early reading fast bridge testing. So I wanted to share the initial district results from this fall's assessment. Again, looking at that low risk, that's the blue line in the blue bar. And you can see some really exciting and promising growth within the district. So from the 36% that we started out last year to up to 42% this fall. One of the other things that we want to be sure to note too is the sort of the red high risk line. Those are students that we are especially concerned about, and so we want to see that line continue to drop. And we saw a nice beginning drop there from 26% last year to 22%. Certainly room to still grow, but I'm excited about this preliminary results from this year.
Question is this, are you talking proficiency? These numbers related to proficiency or what?
So these are numbers looking at, so if you go back to that first slide for me. So this is meeting grade level benchmarks. So the FAST bridge, I believe, tests reading and early reading.
So we give this test to incoming kindergartners when they come into the district to be able to sort of have a sense of where they're at when they come in. And so our goal is with this Ready for Kindergarten goal is that they're coming in sort of in that low risk category, because then we can, as a district, are in a good position to help support them continue to grow during their time sort of in the K-12 system.
Now, is 46% considered low or what?
So as a district, last year we were at 36%. So the board approved a goal for over the next 2 years to try to grow to 46%. Obviously, our ultimate goal is to get much higher. You know, we'd like to have every student ready for kindergarten, but this is sort of was the board approved goal last year.
And what's the ultimate goal?
The ultimate goal would be
100%?
100%. I mean, we would
So-
ultimately hope for every student.
So basically, similar to like what I always quote, like middle school math at 13.8, then they want to go up to, I don't know what was like 30% or whatever. That's still terrible. So am I related to this? Is that a comparison, that 46%? I know there's growth, but why is it so low?
I think what's unique about measuring kindergarten students is that only a small, about little less than half of the population that the students who are in kindergarten come directly from our preschool programming. So we're also looking, and you'll see this in our strategies, at partnering with community preschools and then those that don't attend anywhere before entering kindergarten. So it's a little bit harder to support students who aren't anywhere.
Now, I'm hearing reports that students are going into classrooms with absolutely no English skills whatsoever. What came of the Newcomers Academy? What's the status of that? Is it active or not active?
So this is to report on whether we're ready for kindergarten or not. The students that take this come to us at all different levels. So you are correct. We have a lot of students that do come to us with no English skills, and our goal is to get them up to proficiency as well. But obviously, when they're coming to us at 5 years old, it takes us a while to get there.
Okay, I go back to, are these students, as they enter kindergarten, into a newcomers program or not?
We do not run a newcomers program at our elementary level because the research shows that it is better to integrate them into classrooms with English-speaking students. So we don't have like a newcomers segregated system within our elementary
How come
setting.
we had one for many years?
We have one at our middle school and our high school level, not at our elementary level.
I think we had one.
I think the discussion is at this kindergarten program here. We're off track right now. Mr. Chair, if I may.
Let's let them finish and we can ask some questions at the end. Okay?
Okay, so when we came to you guys last spring with some initial prioritized strategy to help be able to achieve this district-wide goal, sort of laid out 3 prioritized strategies and just wanted to give you kind of brief updates on that to show kind of the work that continues to be underway. As you recall, the board approved the addition of an additional preschool section for this school year, so really excited to be able to offer that, and are especially excited because of the results that we're seeing with kids who attend our Faribault Public Schools preschools. Using that same assessment that we just looked at on the line graph, you can see here on the left are the students in our kindergarten classes who took part in our Faribault Public Schools our preschool programs. And as you'll note, 65% of those students were in that Ready for K cohort, reaching that low-risk level. When we look at that compared to students who maybe didn't attend any preschool programming or took part in another program, that's a much, much lower rate at 23%. So we're excited to see certainly the job that Olivia and her team have done to help make sure that the kids who are coming through our preschool program are ready for kindergarten. Certainly that's a goal we're going to continue to try to increase, but just to see that continuing increase year over year is really exciting. And what I think is really exciting also is when we disaggregate that data, so when we look at the breakdown across gender, home language, socioeconomic status, that we consistently see that the students who are attending Faribault Public Schools preschools are more likely to be kindergarten ready than their peers in that other graph. So a huge testament to Olivia and her team for helping to make that possible.
Ms. Sage and Mr. Pruitt, can I ask a quick question? So the column to the right that did not attend Faribault Public School preschool, that could be students that are at home with no preschool. That could be students in other preschools in our community or elsewhere.
Yeah. Or ones who recently moved to the community as well.
Right, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think and then those numbers don't lie. And if they're in our preschool program, it appears that they are doing very well and testing very well. So congratulations and kudos to you and your team.
And I think one of the things that we just want to continue to look at is longitudinal trends over time. And one of the things that's exciting is that the results are consistent over years, and we're actually continuing to see some accelerated growth among students in that cohort. So, and again, when we disaggregate the data by those subgroups, that holds true year over year over year, which is again something that we're wanting to make sure that it's a trend that we can begin to build off of.
So if we have 77 students attending our Faribault Public School preschool program, right? That's what we have, 77? Do we have additional capacity, or is that full capacity?
So we have about 80 pre-K seats, and so that's right around full capacity right now.
Thank you.
And these are 4-year-olds from 22, 23, this year's kindergartners.
Yes.
Are these 4-year-olds tested?
So we have an ongoing assessment that we use called the TS Gold. And so we use an assessment in pre-K that aligns with our early childhood indicators of progress, standards that align directly to the kindergarten standards.
When they're tested, is it in their native language or English?
That would be the FAST testing that's run, and I believe it's in their home language. Oh, Julie? If the FAST is in Spanish? So
No, we have that immersion program that Jerry liked. So is that part of it or not really?
So the immersion program is a program that we run in kindergarten this year, but it's not tied to our assessment
No.
testing.
All right, and then our second strategy was to prioritize partnerships with community programs that have high FPS enrollment. So specifically in this community, we're looking at Head Start and A Child's Delight. So we've done some data sharing agreements. We continue to support early childhood special education staffing in those programs, as well as making sure that those students receive early childhood screening and that staff are able to support them in their programs. And then our third strategy was to extend our ECFE programming. So this really looks at our home providers. So what we're doing for those that don't attend preschool places, we're going into offering our gym space at McKinley to allow them to come and have a place to come and play and connect with our early childhood staff, get connected to programming options and opportunities that are available to them, as well as our launch of ECFE on the Go. That was published in our winter 2024 ECFE catalog, which expanded that collaboration with Family, Friends, and Neighbors Network to allow for an early childhood staff member to go into home daycares or daycare centers in the community to run like a smaller scale version of ECFE. So running like a small group time and an activity time that aligns directly.
Then they, in their native language, they come over here. Is that a concern of yours, of ours, I mean?
Well, I want to be clear, Surratt Academy is no different than the STEM school, which is also a charter school, or Discovery Charter School, and those are charter schools that have been active in our community for many years. So we do regularly have students that bounce back and forth between charter schools and public schools. We do not have any, if you're talking about like outreach pieces between us, no, we are separate entities. So they are bound by the same standards and benchmarks under state legislation as what we are, but we do not work together to educate those students, if that makes sense.
Any other questions?
Board members, any other questions, thoughts?
So our stated goal last spring was having 46% of success rate, low risk students. And if I'm reading the graph on slide 7, we currently have 65% of our students in a low-risk category. Is that correct?
Of just our Faribault Public Schools. So that's looking at just those that attended our program.
Okay. But currently we have on slide 4, 42% of this fall's kindergartners are in a low risk, 36 are at some risk, and 22% are at high risk, which is down from 26% last fall. So this is huge. I mean, I'm not sure how to say this, but we are very close to our goal. The progress is amazing. The newspaper is in the back of the room. I hope these slides are highlighted in the newspaper. These are compelling. It shows exactly the story that I've been telling about my kindergartner this year that attended Faribault Public Schools preschool. I'm not sure if she's on one of the slides here. Was that a... keep up the great work. Please continue to reach out to, I know that you've been involved with the Chamber of Commerce, their work, all of the other community partners. Keep it up. Let us know how you can help, how we as board members can help support this goal. It's tremendous, and thank you for your work.
Mr. Chair?
Ms. Moore?
Yes, on slide, oh, you don't have it Where the circles? With the circles? On the one of them last. Yeah, I see there's Faribault Public School pre-K, community partners, and home providers. How much of a role do parents play and family?
A huge role. We really have been stressing within our own site goals the prioritizing family partnerships and looking at what community partners are doing to prioritize those, as well as how we can not only go into home providers or daycares or centers, but also to reach back to the parents to show them what we're doing and some of the activities that they can do to support their child's development.
Have you had much success with involving the parents, or is that
I
it
think,
depends, maybe? I don't
yeah,
know.
yes.
Thank you.
Anything else, board members?
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you for the
Great job.
presentation. Excellent.
Thank you. Good to hear good things.
Board members will now move to item number 16. The next item on the agenda is the proposed expulsion of a student enrolled in Independent School District 656, Faribault Public Schools. The Pupil Fair Dismissal Act states that an expulsion hearing shall be closed unless an open hearing was requested. No such request has been made. The open meeting law, Minnesota Statute Section 13D.05, Subdivision 2A3, states that any portion of a meeting must be closed if educational data are discussed. Accordingly, I hereby entertain a motion that this meeting be closed.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Robichaux. I don't know if there's discussion on this. I don't believe there is. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 7-0. I think for this, what we will do is move into the Washington room. That way there's no risk of, so if you want to stay, go ahead. Sorry. That way, in case any mics, anything like that, we'll move into the Washington room for this particular closed meeting. Okay? Thank you. Okay, board members, we have moved from the Washington room and back to here, so I will, could we have a motion to close the closed meeting and reconvene into an open session?
So move.
Thank you,
Second.
Ms. Boudreau, and a second by Mr. Wolf. All in favor, discussion. All in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that motion passes. We have now reconvened in an open session. At this time, I would like to remind the members of the school board that it is inappropriate to discuss any details regarding the incidents which gave rise to the proposed expulsion or any other data regarding the student proposed for expulsion, as this data is private data under the Minnesota Government Data Practices Act. With that in mind, I will hereby entertain consideration of the resolution expelling a student.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Olson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Ms. Boudreau is the second. There's no discussion on this. Ms. Steves, this is a roll call.
Linda Boudreau,
Aye.
Linda Moore,
Aye.
Richard Olson,
Aye.
Harry Robichaud,
Aye.
Cassie Steves, aye, Chad Wolf,
Aye.
John Bellingham.
Aye.
Resolution passes 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 19, motion for adjournment.
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn, I would like to personally and professionally thank Mr. Wolf for his years of leadership on the board.
That's right.
I've worked with a number of chairs in my tenure, and I can without a doubt say that you are at the top of the list as far as what you've done for this district. Your focus has always been on what's best for students. You've been open as far as allowing some discussions, and your role as chair has been just dynamic, and I personally want to thank you for your commitment to the students here in Faribault Public Schools, Mr. Wolf.
Thank you, Mr. Robichaud.
Mr. Chair, I would echo those remarks. You've done a good job, Chad, in my short tenure here, and we're going to miss you.
Thank you.
You're still going to be here.
I'll be here.
He's ready. That's awesome. Again, like I said at the beginning of the meeting, he has set the bar extremely high, and I will work diligently to keep that level and make sure this board continues to be as cohesive as possible with this. So it's our goal for student achievement here. So now I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Wolf.
Second.
Thank you for the second. No discussion on this. There is, but we're not going to take it. No. Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, NASCO.